Today's lesson is NFTs, the good, the bad, and the harmful. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And my name is Helen.
And today we're going to continue talking about NFTs. You've probably heard about these things. They're similar to, but not the same as cryptocurrency. That's another subject we'll talk about some other time, but we're focusing specifically on NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens. And last time we talked about some of the reasons why NFTs are making waves.
Right, we talked about how NFTs were good for artists because artists usually have trouble selling their works online. But with NFTs, they don't have to go through an agent or a gallery. They can sell directly to the collector and make money that way.
Indeed. So they're great for artists, and contracts are built in and they're automatic. And then, of course, we talked about the fact that non-fungible tokens can increase in value, which means they're good for investors. And that's why a lot of people are interested in them, because you can use your money to make more money by investing in NFTs. But, you know, nothing is perfect. There are some disadvantages as well, which we'll talk about today. So let's get to it. Let's talk about what some of those disadvantages are. Let's listen to the first part, and then we'll come back to discuss it.
Unfortunately, NFTs have some major weaknesses. There's no guarantee of value. Although some NFTs have practical uses, the value of most NFTs is in their aesthetic and sentimental worth. That means an NFT is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay. They can therefore be unreliable investments.
大家好，第一部分我们看到形容词 aesthetic 表示美学的、美感的或者是审美的，像是 You should try hard to appreciate the aesthetic value of our paintings. 你应该努力去欣赏我们画作的美学价值，或是 The university's professor suggested a new aesthetic theory. 那间大学的教授提议了一个新的美学理论。接着我们看到形容词 sentimental 指的是情感上的，或者是多愁善感的。举例来说 Laura is very sentimental. She cries when she watches sad movies. Laura 很多愁善感，看感伤电影时会哭。或者 She kept these old clothes for sentimental reasons. 她保存这些旧衣服是出于情感上的缘故。另外补充这个单字的名词 sentiment, S-E-N-T-I-M-E-N-T, sentiment, 意思是观点或者是感情。例如 Celia doesn't like people who wear fur, and she's not afraid of voicing her sentiments. Celia 不喜欢穿皮草的人，她也不怕表达自己的观点。也可以说 There is no place for sentiment in the dog-eat-dog world of business. 在残酷无情的商业世界中，容不下感情用事。
So as we mentioned before, unfortunately, NFTs have some major weaknesses. There's no guarantee of value. So that's the first weakness. There is no guarantee of value. A guarantee is a promise that something will happen in the future. So the problem, or one of the problems with NFTs, is that there is no promise that this NFT will be worth a lot in the future, or if it's worth a lot now, that it will continue to be worth a lot in the future.
Right, so there's no guarantee of value. Guarantee here is a noun. It just refers to assurance that something is what it says it is. And you can also use this as a verb. Satisfaction is guaranteed. If you're not satisfied with this product, you can return it for a full refund. But here, guarantee is a noun. Some kind of insurance or assurance, I should say, that the product is worthwhile for you to purchase, and if you're not satisfied, well, you can return it. I don't think that's the case in terms of NFTs, because if you invest in them and you're not satisfied, well, that's just tough luck. So here is an explanation for the fact that there's no guarantee of value. Although some NFTs have practical uses, the value of most NFTs is in their aesthetic and sentimental worth. Now, aesthetic here refers to beauty, what something looks like, and of course, that's a highly important value in art. The aesthetics of art, if it looks good, if it's a wonderful play, if the music sounds good, etc., that often refers to aesthetics with an S added to it, which means beauty.
That's right. So NFTs have aesthetic value. They might look really good or sound really good to the collector. And they can also have sentimental worth. So sentimental here refers to something that makes you feel a certain way, that evokes a certain emotion. So for instance, I might have a vase at home that's worth very little, that's worth just $1 or $2, but it has a lot of sentimental worth because my grandmother gave it to me before she passed away. So for me, that vase is worth a lot. It has a lot of sentimental value, even though for another person, it might be worth nothing because the material isn't very expensive and it doesn't have a lot of economic worth.
Yeah, your grandmother was known for buying cheap pottery, but in any case here, that is a disadvantage to NFTs. Again, their value is in their aesthetic and sentimental worth. You might get sentimental over somebody. And that means an NFT is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay. So indeed, that's a disadvantage here. There's no guarantee of value. It's all up to the buyer and how much they want to pay. They can therefore be unreliable investments. And of course, if you are investing and trying to make money with your money, well, you want to have reliable investments. You want to make sure that you're going to make money and not lose money. So, of course, you want someone to give you some good advice, not insider trading information, but some good advice on stocks to invest in. And they're going to be reliable investments. Yes, if you invest in this company in a year or two, you should be making some money. Your stock prices will increase. So, yeah, you want to have reliable investments and not unreliable ones. And investment refers to when you buy some kind of asset in order to make money, such as stocks or real estate, things like that.
Right. And a lot of people, after they graduate from school, they go and work in investment firms. And those firms usually help people or companies invest their assets so that their money can continue to grow instead of losing value.
Okay, so that's one disadvantage or one weakness of NFTs. Let's talk about another one in the second part of our lesson. We will listen first.
They can be copied and stolen. A blockchain is a secure method of recording NFT transactions, but NFT markets are not always safe. If a hacker breaks into the market and steals your NFT, you no longer have proof of ownership, so getting your NFT back is almost impossible. People can also easily make copies of the digital content linked to your NFT, and while they won't have proof of ownership, those without access to the blockchain won't know that.
第二部分，我们看到单字 hacker 这个字是名词，指的是骇客或者是非法入侵他人电脑的人，像是 Most companies have the unpleasant experiences of being intruded by hackers. 大多数的公司都有被骇客入侵的不愉快经验，或是 The hacker embedded a virus in the office's mainframe. 骇客将一个病毒植入进办公室主机。另外，补充这个单字的动词 hack, H-A-C-K, hack, 意思是侵入或者是骇入。例如 Somebody hacked into Bill's Amazon account and made some purchases. 有人骇进 Bill 的亚马逊账号，而且还购买了一些东西。或是Thieves hacked the company's database and stole users' personal information. 窃贼非法侵入该公司资料库，偷取使用者的个资。
So another disadvantage of NFTs is that they can be copied and stolen. A blockchain is a secure method of recording NFT transactions, but NFT markets are not always safe. So, in fact, we have to make a distinction. We have to differentiate blockchains and the NFT market. So, a blockchain is secure. If something is secure, it's safe and reliable. So, a lot of banks try to keep the money inside secure by having guards outside the banks or near the door of the banks and having safety deposit boxes. So again, a blockchain is a safe method of recording NFT transactions. But the problem is the NFT market itself. Those markets are not always safe.
Indeed. So you don't have to worry so much about the blockchains. They're secure. They're not going to be unreliable, but the markets are not always safe. If a hacker breaks into the market and steals your NFT, you no longer have proof of ownership, so getting your NFT back is almost impossible. And we all know what a hacker is. That's somebody with good computer skills. And we've got hackers all over the world. In Russia, for example, or in North Korea, they're on the internet all the time trying to break into various websites to steal information or to mess around with information there and cause problems. So that's what a hacker does. And a hacker can break into the market and steal your NFT. And of course, as you know, as I just said, hackers are quite skillful. They're very talented at what they do. So you cannot underestimate what hackers can do. They can break into markets at any time, and they might just steal your NFT, which means that NFT can be copied and stolen. So that's a disadvantage that is a weakness.
Yes, so here we have the phrasal verb break into, which means to enter a place, to steal something. So, of course, here we're not talking about a physical place, but a market that is online for these NFTs. And if a hacker does manage to break into the market, then you will no longer have proof of ownership of that NFT. Ownership here refers to the legal possession of something, and it's usually refers to something that has a lot of value. So you can talk about your ownership of a car or of a house. We wouldn't really talk about ownership of a pen, for instance, or a t-shirt.
Exactly. So, of course, in a divorce settlement, the husband and the wife may fight over ownership of the car or of the house or something like that. And again, ownership of the NFT is very important, but if someone breaks into the market and steals your NFT, well, then you don't have proof of ownership, so it's going to be very difficult to get that NFT back or returned. It will be almost impossible. So just tough luck. That's the way the ball bounces. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose, and this time the loser is you.
Yes, and people can also easily make copies of the digital content linked to your NFT. And while they won't have proof of ownership, those without access to the blockchain won't know that. So, for instance, if you have an NFT that is in the form of a piece of digital art, let's say the picture of a dog, let's say somebody can easily copy that image and download it onto their computer and say that belongs to them because digital files can be copied. Now, if somebody doesn't have access to the blockchain and you tell that person that this NFT, this image belongs to you, that person has no way of showing or of knowing that what you're saying is true or false. So that's another disadvantage of NFTs. You can actually copy the content and have multiple copies of it. So in a sense, what is the point of owning the NFT to that image or that piece of music?
Right. So again, people can easily make copies of digital content which are linked to your NFT. But even though they don't have proof of ownership, those without access to the blockchain won't know that. Now, here we've got the word access. That just means being able to get at something or being able to use something. and we often use this in a phrase to have access to something. So, of course, when you travel, of course, it's very important to have access to the internet. You're supposed to be having fun on your holiday, on your vacation, but sometimes, of course, you need to check back and see what's going on at the office. So you need to have internet access, or you need to have access to the internet to get your messages all caught up and stuff like that. And, of course, we're talking about people who do not have access to the blockchain. If they don't have that access, they won't know that you don't have proof of ownership, and that can be a very messy situation.
Right. And just one more example of the word access. Sometimes you want to put a password to lock your phone or your laptop so that other people won't have access to your information. So they can't get at it. They can't find your files, your photos, or your passwords.
Okay, now it's time to move on to the third and final weakness of NFTs. They're harmful to the environment. Let's listen.
They're harmful to the environment. It takes a huge amount of power to create just one NFT, the equivalent of about 9 days' worth of electricity for a single American household. If the market for NFTs continues to grow, the resulting carbon emissions could soon equal those of the entire city of London. More efficient NFT markets exist, but their widespread adoption is still far away.
最后第三部分，我们看到单字 adoption 这个字是名词，表示采用或者是采纳。例如 In-house safety can be improved with the adoption of some simple rules. 采用一些简单的规则可以提高室内的安全。或者 Futurists foresee the adoption of a cashless economy. 未来学家预见到无现金经济的采用。另外，这个单字也有领养或者是收养的意思，像是 The couple can't have children, so they plan to adopt one. 这对夫妻没办法生小孩，所以他们计划领养一个小孩。或是 He was homeless and had to put his children up for adoption. 他无家可归，只好让别人收养他的孩子们。再补充这个单字的动词 adopt。A-D-O-P-T, adopt, 指的是采用或者是采纳的意思。举例来说 To sound more mature, Fred adopted a new manner of speaking. 为了听起来更成熟 Fred 采用了一种新的说话方式。也可以说 Harry's chain of stores adopted the use of VR technology to make them cashierless. Harry 的连锁店采纳虚拟实境技术，成了无收银员商店。
Now, finally, NFTs are harmful to the environment. It takes a huge amount of power to create just one NFT, the equivalent of about 9 days' worth of electricity for a single American household. So that is indeed a lot of electricity being used just to create one NFT. Here we have the phrase the equivalent of, which just means equal to. So if something is the equivalent of something, it is equal to that thing. And the amount of power that it takes to create one NFT is equal to about 9 days worth of electricity for a single American household.
Which would count Americans using their garage door openers, their televisions, their air conditioning, their heating in the winter, etc. And that is a lot of energy there. So if you are concerned about the environment, you may want to think again about investing in NFTs, unless you don't really care. But we do seem to have an energy crisis here because supposedly the petroleum in the world is running out, and solar power and is kind of slow in developing, and nuclear power, of course, creates nuclear waste and stuff like that. So it is a concern. And if we're talking about a household, we're not talking about the family. We're talking about all the people who live in one unit. It could be the family, yes, but it would also include the grandparents, maybe even an orphan or two that have moved in.
Right. So here in Taiwan, we have the household registration office where you go to report the birth of a child or to report if somebody has moved out or moved in or has passed away. So that's an example of the word household.
Okay, so if the market for NFTs continues to grow, if more people invest in NFTs, the resulting carbon emissions could soon equal those of the entire city of London. Now, people, of course, who live in London are very energy conscious. I understand lots of people in London ride their bicycles to work, but still there are lots of vehicles using energy. And of course, they need to heat their buildings in the winter and cool them in the summer. So Londoners often use lots of energy. And so if you do continue to buy NFTs, well, we have this resulting carbon emission, or these resulting carbon emissions. Resulting means what happens as a result of something. So yes, indeed, we're investing in NFTs and the resulting carbon emissions would increase. Carbon, of course, is referring mostly to carbon dioxide, greenhouse gases, and they are emitted into the atmosphere in various ways, from car exhaust to factory pollution, etc. And they would be the equivalent of the energy produced by London.
Yes, and more efficient NFT markets exist, so it's not all bad. But their widespread adoption is still far away. So even though these NFT markets that are more efficient, that produce less carbon emissions do exist, they're not very widespread. So to be widespread means to exist or to happen, to take place in many different places. And also the word adoption here usually means taking in a pet, a dog or a cat or a baby as part of your family. But here it also means the decision to use or to accept a particular idea or a particular thing. So in other words, the decision to use these more efficient NFT markets are still not widespread. It's still not happening in many different places.
Yeah, right now people are just interested in investing in NFTs and making money, and destroying the environment is a small price to pay for becoming rich. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Let's listen now to Hanny, our beloved Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分有一个句子写到，大多数 NFT 的价值在于其美学和情感价值。那文中是用到形容词 sentimental 来描述情感上的。我们来学习它的字根哦。当你看到 sent、sens 或者是拼作 sense S-E-N-S-E 这一类的字根，它就带有知觉、感觉或是认为的意思。那么在 sentimental 这个字当中，它的字根 S-E-N-T 表示感觉， M-E-N-T 是名词字尾，合在一起 sentiment 就表示感想啊、观点、意见、情绪或心情。我们后面再加上形容词字尾 al 就变成课文里的 sentimental， 它可以形容是情感上的、感性的或是多愁善感的。好，那顺便补充几个有这一类字根的单字。第一个补充的是 consent， 它的字首 C-O-N 表示共同，字根 sent 表示感觉，对某事有相同的感觉、有相同的看法，应该很容易联想到 consent， 它有同意、赞成的意思。那第二个补充的是 dissent， D-I-S-S-E-N-T， 那它的字首 D-I-S 表示不同，字根 sent 表示感觉或是认为，那有不同的感觉、不同的看法，应该可以联想到 dissent， 它有不同意的意思。那这个字当动词可以表达公开反对，当名词则可以表达异议，就是不同或反对的意见。第三个补充的是 resent， resent。那它的字首 re 是做强调用，字根 sent 是感觉的意思。当感受非常强烈，尤其是那种负面情绪非常强烈，我们用这个想法去联想到 resent， 它有怨恨、感到愤恨的那种意思，那它是当动词来用。好，再我们看到课文第3部分，它提到说，光是制造一个 NFT 就要耗费大量的能源，相当于一个美国家庭大约9天的用电量。好，文中用到 the equivalent of about 9 days worth of electricity 来表达相当于大约9天的用电量。好，这边有2个重点，第一个是 equivalent 在这边是当名词，它表示相等物、对应物或者是等值物。The equivalent of 加名词就可以表达相当于某事物、等同于某事物。那补充一下 equivalent 也可以当形容词去形容相同的、相等的、等值的。这时候呢，你就可以在它后面加上介系词 to， 再加上相比的事物啊，或者是数值。举例来说 1 inch is equivalent to about 2.5 centimeters。1英寸大约等于 2.5 公分。好，再来看到第2个重点是，当我们用一段时间的所有格加上 worth of something， 可以表达可维持多少时间这样。像 a month's worth of water， 可维持1个月的水。15 years worth of experience， 持续15年的经验等等。那另外你也可以用金钱或是度量衡的数量所有格再加 worth of something 去表达值多少钱啊，值多少度量衡的某事物。像是$5 million worth of rubies， 就是说价值500万美元的红宝石。5 pounds worth of beef 则是指重量5磅的牛肉。好，那以上就是今天的重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Guarantee. There's no guarantee that they'll agree to these terms. Sentimental. My grandmother's ring isn't worth anything, but it has huge sentimental value to me. Secure. Our IT department works hard to make sure that the network is secure. Access. Here is the key that will give you access to my apartment while I'm away. Household. Jenny's household consisted of 5 people. A mother, a father, a grandmother, and 2 children. Widespread. The widespread use of social media has affected everybody's lives.
Discussion Starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter for today, and the question is, what is your opinion of NFTs?
I think NFTs are a good idea because they seem to give artists more power and more chances of making money, but I really don't understand them enough to have a definite opinion.
Well, I'm not sure NFTs are such a good idea because hackers will figure out a way to corrupt them. That's the biggest problem. Of course, we know the other problem has to do with their large amount of electricity needed. And of course, we've already got lots of energy problems. All these electric cars seem to be breaking down these days. Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoyed reading along with us. I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.